6 months ago, my life changed. My son Nadav was born. Life will never be the same. Yes, we get a little bit less sleep, we do a lot more laundry, but it is much more than that. Life has a different meaning. Life is no longer about me. There is a greater purpose. There is Nadav. Nadav's arrival has left us with a new responsibility. Talia and I need to ensure that our Jewish tradition is passed on to the next generation. This is now the crucial component of both of our lives. It is up to us to sing the Shema with Nadav at night. It is up to us to light Shabbat candles with him. And it is up to us, as he gets older, to guide him, to love, and embrace Judaism. If we fail to do this, then our tradition will cease with us and will not be carried on into the future. Each of us shares in this responsibility. We must work to transmit and instill a connection and a love for our Jewish tradition in the future. We often hear about the concern about the future of Judaism, and we highlight the dwindling number of identified Jews. The American Jewish Identity Survey of 2001 highlights this fear. And the survey concludes that the number of Jews who self-identify with Judaism has declined by 3%. But our concern about the future of Judaism is nothing new. This week's Parsha, Chayei Sarah, highlights the first instance of the challenge of transmitting Judaism from one generation to the next. Abraham is the first monotheist in the world, and he has a very intimate connection with God. God promises Abraham that he will be Av Hamon Goyim, the father of a multitude of nations. Abraham is fully committed to this way of life and has the utmost faith in God, but he still must pass this on to Isaac. But does Isaac share the same beliefs and commitments to this new covenant as his father? Will he inherit and take hold of this covenant, or will Isaac be connected to God only through his father? When we examine Isaac's life and actions, it is not clear that he completely embraces Abraham's religious belief. Just last week, we read the terribly difficult story of the Akedah, the binding of Isaac. After the frightening encounter on the mountain, the Torah tells us, Vayeshav Avraham el Narav, Vayakumu vayelechu yachdav el Beersheba. Abraham returned to his servants, and they went together to Beersheba. The most obvious question in this verse is, where is Isaac? At the beginning of this week's Parsha, we expect for Isaac to be present yet again. The Torah reading begins with the death of Sarah, Isaac's mother. After Abraham arranges to buy the cave of Machpelah to bury Sarah, chapter 23, verse 19 says, V'acharei chen kabar Avraham, et Sarah ishto, el marat sadeh ha-Machpelah. And then Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave of the field of Machpelah. The Torah again does not mention Isaac here. And throughout the Torah, we're provided with textual clues that Isaac was extremely close with his mother. Are we to believe that he missed his mother's funeral? Isaac's absence from the text, from his father's company, may be the Torah's way of showing us that Isaac is not interested in inheriting his father's way of life. Already in the first instance of the Jewish tradition being passed on from one generation to the next, there are complications. It is not easy. Isaac is distancing himself from his father and does not appear that he wants to connect with his father's way of life. Imagine for a moment that you were in Abraham's shoes. You picked up and you left your homeland, your family, to follow God in order to begin this new way of life. You were supposed to be the father of a multitude of nations. After years of struggling with infertility, And now, after the loss of your wife, Isaac is your only chance for the future. Isaac is your only chance of fulfilling this promise. The new way of life that you have fought so hard to establish is about to collapse. The very first opportunity to transmit Judaism is about to be a failure. Isaac's absence from the text is puzzling, and noticing that Bereshit Rabbah 56:11 says, V'yitzchak hechanhu, Rabbi Berechia b'shem Rabbanan Ditman, Shalcho etzel shem lilmod mimenu Torah. Where is Isaac? Rabbi Berechia, in the name of the rabbis, explained that Abraham sent Isaac to Shem to learn Torah from them. The rabbis posit that Isaac was studying in a Jewish yeshiva. But wait, wasn't Abraham the first Jew or the first monotheist? So how could there already be this Jewish yeshiva? Due to the realities of the time, I think that Isaac must actually be studying at a non-Jewish yeshiva. The rabbis wanted the disappearance of Isaac from the text to be an opportunity for him to inherit his father's way of life. But for me, the Midrash shows that Isaac has distanced himself again from his father and his traditions. Later in the Parsha, Abraham is advanced in age, and he is aware that he is nearing the end of his life. Abraham now realizes the most important task of his life yet remains incomplete. Abraham has not transmitted the covenant to Isaac. What benefit would all of Abraham's hard work and sacrifices be if the tradition is not passed on to his son? Abraham realizes that he needs to take steps to ensure the survival of the covenant with God. One of the ways Abraham does this is by finding the proper spouse for Isaac. Parents arranging marriages at the time was tradition, but this marriage is different. Abraham ensures that Isaac does not marry one of the women from the local area, and he goes to great lengths to ensure that his future wife will come to the land of Canaan. In fact, Isaac is the only patriarch not to leave the land. Leon Cass, in his book, The Beginning of Wisdom, says, Isaac is not a man fit for encounter in Egypt. He can only succeed in less hostile territory. Could the fact that Abraham ensures Isaac's wife comes to the land of Canaan highlight that Abraham suspects Isaac's connection with the covenant is fragile? Abraham knows he is running out of time to impart his beliefs to his son. So with one of his last actions, he wants to ensure that this wife may help him in the process. After the death of Abraham, the Torah tells us that Isaac and Ishmael bury their father together. Perhaps this is the turning point, and Isaac has begun to internalize his father's teaching. But the Torah, again, is surprisingly silent after the birth of Jacob and Esau, Isaac's sons. After the Torah was very explicit with the circumcisions of Abraham, Ishmael, and Isaac, we would expect to see that Isaac circumcises the twins on the 8th day of their life. But the Torah does not mention anything about circumcision. Again, the Torah seems to be telling us that Isaac has not chosen to live a life according to the covenant that his father made with God. When we read the story in this way, it is amazing just how close the covenant came to disappearing. Our tradition would not have even made it to the second generation. The fear of Judaism disappearing is nothing new. This fear can be traced all the way back to Abraham and has continued throughout our entire history, straight up until today. Simon Rabidovich outlines this fear in his essay titled, Israel, the Ever-Dying People, in which he shows that every generation of Jews has experienced this existential crisis. Many Jewish sociologists today wonder what our future may be. Are we going to disappear? This fear may have roots from the very first transmission of our tradition. If we look at Isaac as an individual who is not connected with his father and does not seem interested in inheriting and passing on Judaism, why is he considered one of our patriarchs? Why do we begin every Amidah with Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov? Isaac's actions, Isaac's life, may not equal that of Abraham and Jacob, but still, the rabbis make a point of equating him with the others. The rabbis are showing us that, in fact, Isaac does play a major role, and he does deserve to earn the status of patriarch. He eventually does internalize this new tradition, and he ensures that it is passed on to Jacob, the third generation. Isaac may not be the most motivated leader of our people, but without him, the covenant with God would have ceased with Abraham. While the first transmission of the covenant does not appear to be ideal, it can teach us an enormous amount as all of us struggle with this process. Throughout the entire story, Abraham attempts to instill his new way of life in his son. He gives him the Brit Milah, he ensures that his wife comes to the land of Canaan, and he makes sure that Isaac will have a partner to help him work towards Judaism's survival. We probably cannot say that any one action was successful in accomplishing this, but rather, all of these situations together probably increased the likelihood. The same is true for me today. Each day with Nadav, Ty and I engage in Jewish actions that may seem small. We have no idea if this will help him embrace Judaism in the future. We are aware that there is no magic bullet that will ensure we will be successful. But hopefully, by continually coming into contact with Jewish tradition and rituals, we will increase Nadav's likelihood of continuing our faith. Abraham created numerous avenues for Isaac to buy in. And we too need to keep creating numerous pathways for Jews to become connected with Judaism. I could have